Refugee Syrian chef turns nocturnal in Ramadan in this May 18, 2018. Photo, Majid Abdalrahim, 29, a Syrian refugee and chef with meal delivery service Foodini, prepares moussaka, a grilled eggplant dish, at Union Kitchen in Washington. Abdalrahim arrives in the kitchen shortly after 2 a.m. to begin preparing meals so he does not have to use the hot stove while abstaining from food and water during Ramadan, the holy month that began on May 16 and ends on June 14. AP photo, Noreen Nasser, Washington, AP. The streets of Washington are dark and empty when Majid Abdalrahim first arrives at Union Kitchen, a shared commercial cooking space in a warehouse on the city's northeast side. By 4 a.m., he has already made headway on preparing a meal for 150 people. Just before dawn, the 29-year-old pauses to gulp down water and say a brief prayer under his breath before getting back to mixing a large bowl of chopped chicken with spices for a popular Syrian staple dish called shawarma. During Ramadan, the holy month that began on May 16 and ends on June 14, when devout Muslims abstain from all food and drink between dawn and sunset, Abdalrahim works a customized nocturnal schedule. The Syrian refugee, who cooks for a meal delivery service called Foodini, starts his working day around 2 a.m. That way he doesn't have to spend his days over a hot stove without being able to drink water. The grill makes you thirsty, Abdalrahim said. That kind of work while you're fasting is very difficult. Abdalrahim has faced far greater challenges. A native of the Syrian city of Daraa, the birthplace of the Syrian Revolution, he was working as a chef in Damascus when he decided to flee his war-torn homeland in 2013. He ended up as a refugee in neighboring Jordan, where he married his wife, Wala Jadala, a distant relative from Syria and a fellow refugee. 3 years in Jordan felt like 30. Jadala, 29, said. Conditions in the Zaatari refugee camp were atrocious. Life in Jordan was expensive, and as a refugee, Abdalrahim wasn't allowed to work legally. He took under-the-table odd jobs as a chef, cashier and newspaper delivery man. At one point, he was rounded up by police while on a newspaper run and spent 10 days in jail for working illegally. Jadala was pregnant with their first child and thought the whole family would be deported back to a disintegrating Syria. I was tearing my hair out. It was the worst day of my life, she said. In June 2016, months before the American presidential election, the family was approved to come to Tucson, Arizona. As the campaign reached full swing, so did the rhetoric surrounding immigrants and refugees, propelled by presidential candidate Donald Trump. I don't know, Trump maybe no like refugee. Abdalrahim says he remembers thinking at the time. I thought people would be hostile and wouldn't accept us. In Jordan, we would hear that Americans don't like refugees, especially Syrians. But those misgivings were quickly dismissed the first time Abdalrahim wandered out to learn the Tucson bus system and buy some household supplies. I was amazed that the first people I met on the street smiled at me without even knowing me, he recalled. Then the people after that smiled and said, hi. It was strange to me. After 8 months, Abdalrahim, Jadala and their 2 daughters moved to a small apartment in Riverdale, Maryland, just outside of Washington. Shortly afterward, Abdalrahim found work with Foodini. Company founder and CEO Nubsa Philip Vang, the son of Hmong refugees from Laos, felt connected to stories of migration and asylum. After arriving in Washington for graduate school, Vang found himself missing his mother's home-cooked Laotian meals. So he decided to find someone in the local community who could cook just as well. From there, the idea expanded to include immigrant and refugee chefs from other countries to develop their own personalized menus that Washington residents can order for meals or catering services. People are aware of the situations that are abroad, but maybe they haven't really been able to even connect with a refugee, Vang said. I think what's cool is we can kind of bridge those two worlds. Customers say they get the satisfaction from a tasty meal and a deeper understanding of stories like Abdul Rahim's. It's a win-win. I get his food and I also can feel that I'm helping him through what must be just an incredibly difficult time, said Danielle Frum, who frequently orders from Foodini. Abdul Rahim may run his own operation at work, but at home he jokes that his job is to be the sous chef for Jadala. Manager kitchen, my wife. Abdul Rahim says in broken English with a hearty laugh. The two dance around each other in the close quarters of their small home, as they bring out dishes of fada, kabsa and fatouche to the table. Just before iftar time, the evening meal to break the Ramadan fast, a neighbor knocks on the door. It's the son of the Iraqi immigrant family upstairs. He's brought several dishes to share, a gesture of Ramadan kindness that will be reciprocated by Abdul Rahim and his wife in the coming days. Their whole apartment complex is filled with immigrants and refugees from around the world. A sign outside the gate proclaims, "We welcome refugees," says Jadala. "Coming to America was a gift from God." Copyright 2018 The Associated Press. All rights reserved. This material may not be published, broadcast, written or redistributed.